Now, the rest of the story.
Well, if I can talk over the dog snoring. But I'm on Bale 5 right now, and I think this is about as good a time as any to tell you why I really don't have any desire to have a kicker, or a ramp for that matter. I'm in the 82, and I've got the 569 behind me, which, the way it's looking, this is just going to be where it's the setup for the summer. I mean, we're kind of finding how nice it is having the 7600 free for other jobs if I can bail with the 82, and we're really not putting many hours on it. But back to what I was going to say. This bale right here that's currently wedged up against the tire of the 82, that started out, well, you see the end of the windrow right there? And the sickening part is I had the baler, because I was going uphill, I backed the baler down and I had it at an angle like this. Clearly not enough of an angle, and the thing started rolling on me. A little at first, which I think is what saved me, because if it would have started out with much of any speed, I don't think I would have caught in it. And here comes Ryan. I just called Dad, bring the skid steer. Ryan and Dad are going to be hauling the stuff in and wrapping it, and kind of banking on we don't have much of anything as far as, it's backwards thinking, it's backwards logic. But this stuff I don't really think is going to amount to much quality feed wise. We're figuring it's going to be more bedding than anything, and to be quite honest, if that's the case, I'd rather have as few of these bales as possible, and we'll just have to see how it all pans out here. I mean, I was going to do a sit and talk while I'm baling video, but a 5-minute wait, because at least with the deer steer, Dad can get down here a lot quicker than if you had to bring the Bobcat down. But the problem I have with the 569, and yes, I will tell you the things I don't like about it, and you take the kicker out, I mean, the kicker is disengaged, but take that out of the argument altogether. This baler sits so high because it's a double-edged sword. It's got those bigger floaters, tires on the baler, which is what I wanted. I wanted the bigger tires for better flotation, especially down at the valley, and also it's supposed to be a smoother ride. And there's Ryan. The baler is sitting so high off the ground when you kick the bale out, it's a natural ramp. The bales are coming out with enough momentum that it gives them the ability to do that. And the problem is, that's the neighbor's place, that's the border between me and the neighbor, and they got that all seated down nice, so I surely don't want to mess that up. But then if you look down here, right off my hood, it actually starts getting steeper yet. And then you get down to the creek. And that's why I baha'd across the field to get this thing. But on to our regular programming. Alright, 4th time's a charm. I'm just about done baling this last field at my parents' place. This is about 10 acres versus the 5-acre field I was just in, you know, where that bale took off on me. 19 bales over there. I'm at 34 bales over here. I think we're going to be right around 40 bales, because right now all I got to deal with is, well, it's like over and back. It won't be 45, I know that. I'm having some issues with some lopsided bales, which, being the baler operator, that's kind of one of the things you're supposed to do, right, is to not have lopsided bales. And I am doing the whole weaving back and forth, don't get me wrong, but I think one of my issues is, it's not 100% of the problem, okay, I'll own up to it. The sensitivity for the bale height sensors was on the low setting. So you can go 0 to 5, and it was on 2. I turned it up to 5, and that certainly did help with getting more consistency. By turning it up, it's telling me a lot more consistently what the Bale sensors are actually doing. See, now that one doesn't look too bad. Having them level is important for stacking them. Like if you're stacking them up on end, yes. We're wrapping this stuff, and you want to have even bales, so when you're transitioning from one bale to the next on that wrapper, you don't have a big gap there where you're trying to fill in with plastic, because that's also potentially an air pocket. And we are going to go ahead and wrap it. We're not trying to make baleage or silage out of it, because this stuff for the most part is dry. It's got oats on it, like the grain, not just the straw. So we got oats, the grain, we got straw for the plant, the stem, and then we actually have a bunch of that alfalfa, that regrowth, the new seeding alfalfa coming in, that I actually was clipping off and throwing into the windrow. Also comes the sprayer, and whether or not the cows are going to eat very much of it or not, I don't know. The stuff should have been made a while back, like probably going, oh no. Oh, we're good. Kind of. Okay. One thing's for certain, I think I freaked the sprayer operator out. Yes, I did. I'm having a bit of an off day, can't you tell? The other downside to making lopsided bales, because that's what that thing was, is when you drop them out, they're lopsided, so they don't roll straight out, they curve, they turn. That's what happened to me over there. So, I don't know, I've tried driving slower, I've tried driving faster, I've tried driving with the heavy weave. I don't know if it's just the straw, the material I'm making, or what. I didn't have this much issue when I was doing the hay. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be doing the video and trying to do this also. Yeah, I get that, but you know, not trying to sound like Mr. Negative about it, but the fewer bales we made off this, the better. I really didn't want a whole lot of this stuff, because I'm not entirely sure if we're just making a bunch of, well, we're making just a bunch of bedding. I can throw this in the feeder, which the first bale I'm probably going to throw in the feeder, yes, and see if the cows get very much usage out of it as far as digging through it and trying to find something to eat, which they're going to want those oats. I would say it's very much similar to the corn fodder in the fall, where you get those random corn ears, where the cows will actually, you can put a hay bale in and a fodder bale in, and the cows will actually go through, the cows will go through and they'll tear apart and shred the fodder bale first, because they want that corn. And I think you're going to see a similar case here. The cows are going to go through and they're going to tear this up, trying to get all that grain out of it that they can, which, if they get all the grain out of it, then they lay on it. More power to them. It's bedding. We'll lay it out for them to lay on. They'll, you know, do their business on it, and we'll haul it out as fertilizer. I mean, I'm not making this an equipment video, but that is another thing that we're talking that we need, is a spreader, because the spreader we got now is well used, it's wore out, and trying to spread heavy bed pack with it, you can't load it very heavy because we don't have that upper beater on it, which that upper beater helps reduce the amount of slugs that you get out of the bed pack. And a vertical beater spreader, I think the majority of you guys know exactly the one I'm thinking of, is what is on our list of would like to buys. Another tractor, of course, a field cultivator, a bigger hay wagon so we can haul more material in, a Brian even said, you know, getting rid of that 566 and getting another one of these balers would be nice. And the list goes on and on. And the problem that I struggle with is, where do you start? Say if I had the money to go make another equipment purchase, where do you go? Grain cart, baler. Baler isn't very high on the list. Sprayer, inputs. So as far as this thing goes, I like the baler. I like it a lot more than the 566. It feeds so much better. The biggest challenge I have is really the whole lopsidedness. I don't really understand why I'm having that many issues with it. Maybe I'm not, and it's just that I'm noticing the ones that are lopsided more than the ones that aren't. I don't know. But they got the sprayer is down here spraying the last of our last pass, our second pass on our soybeans. And they actually are doing an insecticide. That's going to be lopsided for sure. They're doing another pass. They're incorporating an insecticide with this next pass because the beetles are really heavy on a bunch of our bean fields. We've never really worried about them in the past, but on the ends of some of our fields, they are taking their toll. They're taking their more than their fair share, let's say, of the plants that they typically chew on. And I mean, the crops are sold. I'm sold out on corn and beans, and not saying that the grain price is dropping doesn't hurt, but let's just say I'm not exactly sweating it either. But it also means paying the money, putting the money out there to defend your crop, fungicide, insecticide, everything you can to make sure that you're protecting your bottom line is worth it. So that's where we're at there. Hopefully it's the last pass. We're done with spraying for this year. And then they are also wide dropping our corn that needs to be wide dropped. I don't know if they're going to get it all done today. It'd be nice if they do, because they're calling for 1 to 2 inches of rain tonight, which means we get all this seeding cleaned up, get a little bit of rain on it, the alfalfa will take off, and it'll do that a bunch of good. This new seeding alfalfa, it's going to come back. Yes, the intentions are to go through and take one more cutting off of it, which is what we usually did in the past. But no, we're not going to wait till the end of September, especially for alfalfa. Grandpa and some of the older farmers, they've just been told that again here. September 15th, if it gets past September 15th, they won't cut it because they worry about winter kill. Because if you take it off too close to a frost, I'm talking alfalfa, you got to worry about it not being able to build up the nutrients back into the plant, into itself, and then it isn't able to take a really severe cold winter, and then it's where you get your winter kill. So none of us really want to see that. Ideally, this hay strip's going to be here for a few years, and it's where the majority of my dad needs his cow feed anyway, so it makes sense having it here than out at my brother's place. But with the rotations we have, we were still carrying through some hay rotations that we had since Grandpa was alive, and this year they finally petered out where we had to do something with them. So it seems like we're making an awful lot more hay this year than what we have in just the past few. The argument for running 2 balers is still very strong as far as I'm concerned. Once we get this stuff made, which we're sitting at 38, so we're going to be pretty close to about 40 bales. And the fewer this stuff, the better, because I don't know if it's really... I surely didn't want 100 some bales of this, but with everything we had going on, we couldn't help it. It's just, we were unable to get to it in light of everything going on. But looks like next week they're calling for rain. Tomorrow's Friday. Tonight, tomorrow, which I'm hoping that 1 to 2 inches means it's going to accumulate over tonight, tomorrow. But then a nice good soaker would do us great. But then Monday, Tuesday, probably go through and cut everything that is ready to be cut. So that means our second cut alfalfa. That means these grass waterways down through here, which that's a day in itself, just messing with all that stuff. So I'm not really crazy on doing it, but it's annoying when you're going through and cutting it and raking it and backing up and finding the end of the field or the next windrow with the baler, but by the time you get 30, 40 bales, it's worth it. I mean, 8 or 10 bales wouldn't be worth it for the amount we got to cover, but I'm not even sure if we're going to do much for second cut on it or not. See, okay, that one should have been severely, I didn't cuss there, lopsided, according to that. And looking at it, it doesn't look bad at all. Okay, it's a little lopsided, but not nearly as bad as it's saying on here. So I'm wondering if there's, I don't know, turning the sensitivity back up on this, I think, has definitely helped. Being distracted talking to myself isn't helping either, I'll admit. But the clouds are definitely rolling in. Dad and Ryan, well, proximity to where we're wrapping them, we'll be able to get this stuff done fairly quick. What caught us that last time, we were wrapping until, what, 4 o'clock in the morning. We cut 3 fields, technically, if you want to go that far. And the problem with that is we ended up getting like 156 bales. But the problem is we had to haul the majority of them back home. And right back to what I said about the equipment, we need a way to haul more than just 8 bales at a time. And like I said, that the hay wagon I would like to purchase, that would allow us to haul like close to 20 in one trip, which would definitely be nice when there's only one person running a hay wagon. And as far as making the baleage, I think we're pretty well done with that for the year, because primarily that's what a wrapper is good for the month of June in southwest Wisconsin. Is usually June is a nasty, rainy, crummy month where you can't get anything made dry. And Ryan wanted baleage on top of it anyway. It was a learning curve, is a lot of it. It's just trying to figure out what works. I mean, the first time for everything, you're hardly going to do it perfect your first try. But I'm hoping Andrew is going to try to get me some footage of them Y dropping one of my fields. The only problem is I don't know if, or he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to get over there while they're doing it. So getting everything Y dropped is going to be good. Somebody asked me on that burned corn, singed corn, what did I call it video. Duly noted, nobody liked that video. Let's see here. Burned corn leaves. Got about, only got about 3,000 views. But that is a video about broadcasting urea. And when you broadcast urea, that does tend to burn the corn leaves, depending on what you have available for moisture. We didn't get rain on it right away. They were calling for a chance of rain that night, but in turn, it ended up being a couple days yet before they could, before it rained. As far as why I spread urea on that field versus Y dropping it or cultivating it, I just drove up around that field yesterday, I would have ran over a lot of corn. They would have ran over a lot of corn, even with the Haggy, just for how I planted it, because it's not like the headland. So your headland is going crossways of the field, right? And normally you plant into them. Well, in that field, for how that farm lays, a lot of my headlands aren't, perpendicular. They're at an angle. So the problem with that is that you come in at an angle, you have to make a wider turn to try to come back around to your next pass. And for how I planted that farm, I said it in the video, I wasn't crazy how I planted it. I do it again next year. I'm gonna probably do it a little bit differently, but that was the best option for getting the nitrogen in season like I wanted, without running over a bunch of corn. Yes, it's was singed. The plant is growing up out of it. The leaves are all nice and green, coming up out of the whorl. I checked it last night. Well, we had about 3 leaves to go. Oh, where are we at here? Before tassel, and that was on my last planted field. So we are starting to see a few tassels here and there, but we got a long ways to go yet. And why I didn't do 28 or 32, I did address that, but I would prefer to do liquid right next to the roots. It allows it to be absorbed into the plant quicker. It's a better use of my money going that route. It's just where are you at here? It's just how it worked out for me. I really didn't want to see the amount of tire tracks in it that I would have seen in it if they would have went through and wide dropped it, or even me trying to cultivate it. I think I would have ran over way too much. I really do. Well, that's it for this video, because I am going to do a zigzag here really quick around these beans, and then I'm going to burn over to the next farm, which I'm hoping I'll have done in short order. And then I'm going to go through and hit this with the air hose before I park it. Honestly, for the amount of dirt and dust, and anybody that's done straw, oats, it's dirty, it's dusty, it's not fun. So all the machines that are being used right now, 76, the deer steer, the 82, they are all getting completely gone through. Greased, cab filters, engine air filters, blown off with the air hose, probably hit with the pressure washer, soak some of that, the grimy stuff off, and be ready to go for making a fair amount of hay next week. All things said and done, we probably got about 150 bales to make next week. All right, gotta go. Talk to you later.